Greetings, Hastings viewers. I'm Mike Bremer with HCTV, and today I'm with guest Superintendent Bob McDowell. Bob, how are we doing, sir?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much, Mike.
So today I just want to get to know you a little bit, have the community get a chance to get to know you a little bit, and then also just talk about the upcoming school year. Obviously, COVID-19 things are unpredictable and unique. So first off, tell me a little bit about your journey of becoming the superintendent of ISD 200 here.
Yeah, I started teaching tech ed, actually. I was an industrial arts teacher, tech ed, and I taught everything from 6th grade through 12th grade, and everything from wood shop to engineering to architectural drafting, video production, photography,
Video
all the
production,
things that come along
photography.
with being a tech ed teacher as times changed as we moved through the 90s there. And then I got myself into being a tech coordinator when I moved into District 196, and then from there made the jump into administration and worked up from an assistant administrator to assistant principal to principal in White Bear Lake to assistant superintendent in Stillwater, and then this opportunity came along, and I find myself in Hastings.
Wow, you've said that a couple times. You got that down good.
Yeah.
Like the elevator get to know you speech.
Right, the elevator speech on the how'd you get to where you are, right?
Exactly. And is this correct? You served in the military as well, Bob?
Yeah, I was in the National Guard for 10 years.
Okay.
And so did some time there here in Minnesota and Wisconsin, and ended up ending my career there as a part of the Air Evacuation Squadron up at the airport. So
Well, thank you for your service.
109th Aeromedical Evacuation Squadron.
Excellent. So what excited you about the Hastings superintendent position that got you inspired to apply for it?
Sure. Well, I think, a number of factors there. One, personally being ready to take on the role of the superintendent. And then with regard specifically to Hastings, there's a lot of overlap. You and I talked a little bit, there's some overlap with the Hastings School District and the Stillwater School District, kind of a like community. And while Hastings is about half the size, there's just a lot of community feel here that was a real comfortable fit from the beginning. And so you start piecing all those things together and you start meeting people from a community, and you get to that spot where you start thinking, hey, I could do this. I could see myself here. And you make that choice because it feels right and it feels like a good fit.
Sure. So let's talk about your interview experience. It was very unique because if I understand right, Hastings was one of the first, if not the first school district to do 100% virtual interviews for the superintendent. So how did that experience go? Was it pretty weird?
Yeah, it was interesting at first because it really was delving into the unknown, but there wasn't an option. So I think it correlates well with really where we are right now with the school year, in that it's one thing to be in a situation where there's an option to choose, but in this situation you couldn't choose, and so you get to learn how to do it on the fly and make it happen. And the part that was not weird or not stressful, actually for me, was the opposite, was the ability to see so many people all at once, particularly when we got into the second round where I was able to meet with staff in the community, and that where you could see 10, 15 different people at a time, where you wouldn't otherwise be able to do that in such a close proximity.
So how has that transition been so far? I mean, you take on the position during COVID-19, a lot of unknowns. Is it going to be distance learning? Is it not going to be distance learning? How has that transition been?
Sure. The transition actually has been relatively smooth. The nice part was that with the role that I had in Stillwater, I was already in the mode of making a lot of decisions and planning out a lot of logistical things for the start of their school year. And so the transition from a COVID standpoint really just became switching over to what was in place with Hastings, what wasn't in place with Hastings, and how to reorganize and organize folks in Hastings versus the team that I had there. So from that standpoint, it's been really good. In addition, the team here is great. So, we have a great team of administrators, we have a great team of teachers, and everyone's come together and been a part of the process. And so It has actually forced us to do the job of building relationships and working through a major problem all at the same time, which has been fun.
Is there anything that surprised you about Hastings? Could be the
Um,
district or the community, just anything
yeah,
in general.
I would go back to just kind of what I said in terms of the people here have been fantastic because when you think about a transition to your last question, a lot of times it takes a really long time to transition into a new organization and really try to get to know one another and things like that. And that's been a huge pleasant surprise is that everybody has really been open and just willing to start right away. And we kind of have built the trust first, and then we'll wait and see. And I think we've grown really fast in trusting one another, and so that's been a really awesome surprise.
Excellent. So I want to transition a little bit into the upcoming school year
Sure.
now. So there's been a lot of information. The school board's done an excellent job presenting all this information to the Hastings community with all of their meetings. With HCTV, we're streaming all the meetings. So if I'm a parent or a guardian at home and I haven't caught every single meeting and I feel like I'm maybe behind a little bit, what are a few things that people should definitely know, parents, guardians, in regards to the upcoming school year, with COVID-19?
Sure. Sure. I think the first thing I would tell families is we have on our school website, school district website, we have a link to our Bridge to Learning 2020. And that has all of information detailed out by topic. So if you were looking for things regarding transportation, food service, registration, the Hastings Online Academy, all that, that's what I would start with because we also have a lot of information with general items at the building levels. With regard to what do you need to know, I
Yeah.
would say that families should know that we are starting the school year in what's called a hybrid model, which means that we will have students in the building partial week and students out of the building partial week. So our schedule is what's called an AA Flex Day BB, where students have been divided by alphabet for the most part, and a student will either experience in school on Monday, Tuesday, and then they will be distance learning Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or the opposite. They'll be distance learning Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and they will be in school on Thursday, Friday. With the exception of some of our special education students or high need students, those students might be in school 4 days a week, depending upon what types of needs they might have. Transportation will run on those 4 days that we're in school. And so with regard to those two pieces, in the near future, if they haven't been able to already, parents will be able to see both their transportation assignment as well as their class schedule assignment and who their teachers are. Um, I'm trying to think what else. Do you have any other specific questions
Yeah.
on that one?
So,
I'm trying to think what else
so
would be
just
good to
yeah, just to
start
make
with.
sure I'm understanding this correctly. Do families get to choose then if their kids can do the online academy or go in? Is that correct?
Sure. Yes. Part of the governor's guidance was that families would be given an option if they wanted to run a distance learning. And so we've called our distance learning Hastings Online Academy, and that's for students who will be choosing or have chosen to be online at least through the first semester. And so we had to request people register for that just because we needed to schedule that with teachers and things like that. And we'll monitor as we go. But yes, parents have had a choice to stay hybrid or to go full-time distance learning. The difference between those two choices would be that regardless of what mode we're in, so if we would have more cases of COVID to the point where we would be required to go into, let's say, full-time distance learning as a district, the Hastings Online Academy students would stay with that, but the students who were in hybrid would shift to a distance learning model and potentially shift back.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense. Can you say, how many families have chosen the
Sure.
online versus the in person?
Yeah, right now we're hovering right around 650 families, or I should say students, because you could have more than one student in a family. So 650 students, K-12, a little bit more than that have chosen Online Academy at this point. We have, over the past week, we've had people that have switched out of Online Academy and then people that have switched in, just based on how their family situations have changed over the last couple of weeks.
Okay, interesting. And how will lunch work? Are they able to go to? I mean, the commons here at the high school, really large
Yeah.
area, lots of tables. You know, are the students going to come running down to lunch like usual, or how's that going to change?
No, actually, it's lunch is a very interesting and complex thing to put together. Unfortunately, we have a great food service program and personnel here. So if you're a student at the high school students will be released actually on a schedule that releases kids every 5 minutes by class,
Oh
so that
wow.
we stagger students and keep them socially distanced down to the lunchroom. In all of our buildings, students will choose what they're going to have for lunch in the morning, so that food service can prepare those lunches in the quantities that are needed. But at the high school, students will flow down to the lunch cafeteria, pick up their lunch, come back to their classrooms. They'll eat lunch in their classrooms. The middle school will be a combination between doing that and eating in the cafeteria based on space. And then the elementary schools, for the most part, will be doing the same thing, eating back in classrooms, but also utilizing parts of the cafeteria depending upon what's needed at that time. All of our lunches will be prepackaged because we have some guidelines that we have to follow there. So lunch will look a lot different, but we will have lunch.
Okay, okay, that's good. We will have lunch. You won't go hungry. I
Right?
know a lot of people don't realize the HCTV studio, we're located here in the high school. A lot of times,
Yeah,
like I go down and I get a lunch. Like I got my lunch plan and stuff. So
sure.
that's good news
Sure.
for Mike
Yeah,
Bremer
you'll
as
have
well.
lunch. Just got
Yeah,
to make sure you choose it in the morning.
yeah. My mom won't have to pack one for me. So are kids required to wear masks? Are teachers required to wear masks?
Yeah. Yeah, so the governor's guidance has been pretty clear that there's a requirement of all staff, students, and visitors to the schools to have masks on during the school day. Now, there are some exemptions to that. Of course, a student may have a medical reason they can't wear a mask. We could have some other reasons due to an IEP, a 504, or some other reason where a student might have difficulty wearing a mask. However, we have different layers inside of that to have students have other types of protections, not only for them, but for other people, such as face shields, desktop barriers, things of that nature. So, as a general rule, yes, but we will have exceptions along the way.
Okay. And what about the younger children, elementary school?
Sure.
Do they still get recess? I assume they have to wear the mask, right? And then do they get
Yeah,
recess?
I mean, that's a big thing, right? People are actually, I think, planning on figuring out how they can go outside more, because that is one of the exemptions in the mask pieces. If you can get outside and you can maintain 6 feet of social distancing, you can take a break from wearing the mask.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to see a lot of teachers making use of that as long
Yeah.
as it's nice outside.
Mm-hmm.
Um, our younger kids have a little bit different stipulation if they're in preschool or kindergarten. But then kindergarten through 8th grade, they have some flexibility, a little more flexibility with wearing face shields versus masks, but essentially it's the same as a general rule.
Yep. I think that'll be great because, as you know, I mean, anybody with little kids or that's worked with little kids, the attention span and like having to wear a mask all day, I think the
Yeah.
recess could be a great opportunity for them to get that off and breathe a little bit.
Absolutely, and they'll be able to do as long as a student, again, outside is keeping social distancing, and or they are involved in sports. So like kids that are involved in sports, or they're singing or music, there's a little bit different stipulation for what has to happen, or freedom of what you can do there.
Sure. And I'm sure you'd agree with this. Something to keep in mind is everything we're talking about today, this could all change too. You know, everything's
Yeah.
it's a very fluid situation. I'm sure you know better than anybody that this could all be different in a couple days even.
Yeah, we've had a lot of situations that I know get frustrating for people, because it might be something where we present something to staff or to families, even in the board meeting, and by the next day, just by luck of timing, you could
Hmm.
have a different take on a situation. You could have a different reading of what something means. And right now, we're following not only CDC guidelines, but also the Minnesota Department of Health guidelines, the Minnesota Department of Education guidelines, and then a large amount of executive orders. So a lot of people I don't know understand that there's more than one executive order that really gives us guidance in what we can and can't do, because not only are we in the school system, but we're also an employer. And so we are navigating between the various pieces of guidance as we move through this.
So, Bob, is there anything else I didn't ask you about COVID-19 or the upcoming school year that you wanted to share before we transition into a quick fire lightning round to get you know you a little personally?
Sure, sure. I think one thing I would want viewers to hear is first that, we're really focused on working to keep everyone as safe as possible through mitigating risk. So in addition to masks, we have a lot of cleaning, not only supplies, but protocols in place at all of our buildings and on our transportation system for students, whether they're on vans or in buses. And the second thing is just sharing that we're anxiously watching the numbers because as we all know, the ability for us to operate in a particular mode of learning is dependent upon the number of cases per 10,000 in Dakota County, not just Hastings. And so we're happy to see that the numbers right now are dictating that we're going to be able to stay in hybrid because we believe that it's important to get those kids in buildings for at least a short amount of time before we'd have to go to distance learning so we can build relationships and make connections.
Excellent. Cool. Well, let's do a little bit of lightning round. Hopefully, that doesn't sound
All right.
intimidating, the lightning round.
Sounds good.
So, Bob, favorite food?
Pizza.
Oh, nice. Me too. Are you like a
Yeah,
pizza and
Hawaiian.
movies kind of guy?
Hawaiian
Oh,
pizza.
Hawaiian? So you approve of the pineapple on the pizza. That's a very controversial thing.
Pineapple on the pizza, yes.
Right on, right on. Cool. Hobbies.
Woodworking, playing guitar, and barefoot skiing.
Nice. What kind of guitar do you have and what do you like to play?
I play mostly acoustic guitar, and I
Nice.
play as much as I can from the 80s. And then,
Nice.
and if my kids get me roped into something more up with the times, I might do that as well.
Okay, so 80s, like, are you like an 80s like hair metal kind of guy or what?
Um, well, yeah, really anything. I also, I should expand that. 70s too, because I like to
Okay.
play a lot of Eagles.
Right on.
I like to play a lot of just things from that genre. So, yeah, pretty much anything I get my hands on.
Awesome. Cool. Well, maybe next time I do an interview, like, you could get out your guitar and maybe play a little something for us.
Right? Yeah. As a principal, we were known for having an annual staff band
Oh,
and playing
man.
live for our spaghetti dinners. So, not too far fetched.
Okay, so we do a music show that lead producer of that, Kurt Radke. It's called Around the Mic. Maybe we have to maybe make a little special sometime, and he's giving a thumbs up. Maybe
He's
we
like,
could get you in the
yeah,
studio. We can make it really cinematic, and I run camera, and Kurt does like amazing work on the audio. So, oh man, that'd be awesome.
I don't have to wear a wig, do I?
Nope, no wig. I'll wear the wig while I run the camera.
All right.
Cool. So my next question was, what type of music do you listen to and favorite bands? But I think you've already elaborated on that. Unless there's anything else music you want to mention.
Yeah.
Awesome.
80s all the way.
80s all the way. I love it. Favorite movie or TV show?
That is a great question. I should have thought about that one because I don't
Are you
know
a
that I
streamer?
have.
Like, do you got Netflix or Hulu at home, or?
Yeah, I am. I'll tell you the show that I really have been into lately is it's called Hell on Wheels through Netflix, and it's all about the Intercontinental Railroad, and
Yep.
just I love that history stuff, while I know it's not all true and partly fiction, it's just interesting to me how folks lived in that time and how they got through all that they did. Just amazing.
Oh,
So
for sure. I thought about
I like
starting
that.
that show. So are you a fan of westerns then, or is that just like any good show or anything kind of
Any good
historic?
show like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, it doesn't have to be a Western. Yep. Yeah, that or anything comedy. Love comedy.
Okay.
Right.
Have you heard of a show? It's kind of an obscure show, but it's called Take a Hike, Mike. Have you heard of this?
I think I've seen that. I haven't watched it. Who's
Yeah.
in that one?
Ah, just some good-looking, just some guy from a local TV studio. I don't know. He's pretty cool.
I was wondering how you'd answer that one.
Oh man! For like half a second, I'm like, "Is he pulling my leg?" And I'm like, "Okay, this guy's got a good sense of humor. I like
Awesome.
this guy." Okay. Favorite travel location?
Banff, Canada.
Elaborate, please.
I think it's just one of those places that whether it's springtime or fall or winter, it's just you go there and it's just a different place. It's just so amazing in terms of the views and the mountains and the sights and our family likes to downhill ski, and so
Yeah.
that's just it's a crazy experience if you're a downhill skier to ski in Banff.
Oh,
Just
that's awesome.
no place like it.
Oh, cool. That's excellent. All right, Bob, and the last question I have for you is what is your favorite thing about Hastings, Minnesota?
Yeah. Well, right now, because most of my time is spent with people, it is the people here. Everyone's been great. However, beyond that, for me, I don't know, I like the fact that it sits on the river. I
Hmm.
grew up in Winona, and the river is just something that I've always been around, and I love the fact that Hastings ended up being a place where I landed for work, and I have the river right there, so it's great.
It's gorgeous, especially when like outdoors things are things that we can still do. So having that
Right.
pavilion, having those walking trails,
Yeah.
it's gorgeous.
It's just amazing. It's amazing. So love
Awesome.
it.
Well, Bob, that's all the questions I have for you. So I just want to thank
Right.
you so much for joining me through Zoom and just having a good conversation here. And yeah, you're awesome.
Yeah. All right. Hey, thanks, Mike. I appreciate it.
I was
Look
gonna say
forward to doing it again.
we'll have to get you on camera sometime with that guitar, huh?
Right.
All right. Well, viewers,
All
thank you
right.
so much for tuning in. This has been Superintendent Bob McDowell. I'm Mike Bremer with HCTV. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time.